The following video is one in a series on spiritual resilience training, a non-religious view of personal values and their dynamics with others. The contents reflect a variety of principles and practices of systems theory and relational counseling for team building and family resilience. Although the series is intended to support Army Corps values, each video also encourages the viewer to reflect on their current prominent values in specific situations and to consider what values may be more appropriate to means and results that are honorable and helpful with others. Chaplain Dillard initiates creating and posting these videos. Their contents and YouTube's linked videos do not necessarily reflect specific beliefs, practices, requirements, or endorsements of the Department of Defense, its subordinate organizations, or other groups with which Chaplain Dillard is affiliated.
Welcome back. This is the last in our series. We're going to look at the plan of how to not just write out, but to work through a change in group values. Again, if you haven't seen the previous videos, I'd encourage you to watch those. It is somewhat cumulative. We're just going to take one particular value, an old value that we'd like to change, and a new value to take its place and see how that might work. And here's kind of an outline of how we might work through this or think through this. First, our current value we're going to look at is control, kind of my way or the highway in a group. And a better value I'm suggesting would be flexibility, the best way to respond in a given situation. Now we need to look at thoughts that trigger valuing control and countering thoughts that encourage flexibility. For example, a thought that triggers valuing control: no one will look out for me as well as I will. My success can lead to my happiness, and I will be held individually responsible for my failures. Those are all thoughts or beliefs. I'm not saying that they're good thoughts or beliefs. I'm not saying that they're true thoughts or beliefs. But those are thoughts that can trigger us to want to value control, micromanaging our life, micromanaging the group of which we're a part, micromanaging others in the group. So you can see how this could easily be counterproductive to being a helpful part of a group, family, work team, social network, what have you. Now, some thoughts that could trigger flexibility instead. Individuality is lonely. Innovation, however, can involve others. I must guard my successes. We can celebrate our innovation or flexibility. And innovation welcomes failures as part of learning. Now, I'm using the word innovation there as synonymous with flexibility, meaning we don't have to do things always the same way we've done them. We can be creative, we can be flexible, we can be innovative. And so to think of those as ways toward my betterment, my improvement, my greater joy, and the group can help me lean toward more flexibility and less control. Now, when I say less control, I don't mean no control. I'm not talking about giving up everything in my life. I'm talking about not micromanaging others or trying to safeguard myself so I don't let anybody in to become part of my life. Then we need to look at leveraging trigger events of control for flexibility instead. And here's 3 example venues: managing individual tasks, managing group tasks, and leading a group. These are 3 specific times that when I'm in those situations, I'm tempted to want more control, and often it can be counterproductive to how the group goes. So I want to look at those same 3 venues and see how I can use that or leverage that situation to value flexibility instead. Here's how I'd work through each of those 5 areas. My son Caleb values flexibility in managing individual tasks. So I can involve him in planning, delegating, conducting, and evaluating household tasks like cutting the grass and working in the kitchen to help me think beyond my individual logic. So here's one of the people in my family that also wants some individual or some flexibility, and I can work with him in that so that both of us are more appropriately flexible, so I'm not micromanaging him and I'm growing myself as an individual and as his father. In my intellect, teaming will help me to flex for the family and help him learn to lead. If I'm going to be a good father to him, it's not just keeping him alive until he leaves our home, but it's preparing him to be a good husband, preparing him to be a good worker, preparing him to be a good father and neighbor. So by working with him on flexibility, I'm growing in my understanding of how to lead him, how to be truly a better father to him mentally in the ways I think about that. Emotions. One thing I might say to him is, I hadn't considered that idea. Your idea might help us do this better. So I can be more warm towards him. I can encourage him to be encouraged by the way that I speak to him, and implicitly elevating the value of flexibility and not shooting for control as much. And lastly, the changes. Flexing from my control to use some of his good ideas will strengthen his trust, and thus our communications will develop leadership in both of us and begin to grow us as a family. So you can see that the trickle effect of changes in some of the other values that I want to have as part of the group. If you remember leadership and the purpose of the group and communications, all those things will benefit, will be changed by this domino effect of me and my relationship with my son in managing individual tasks. A second venue could be managing group tasks. My daughter values flexibility in managing group tasks, and I can involve her in planning, coordinating, conducting, and evaluating family tasks to help me act beyond my preferences. She loves to get in the kitchen and help my wife cook. She likes to help me go do some shopping. She likes to watch our grandkids, my grandkids, her nephews together. She's very relational. So by working with her on this, I can develop my relationship with her, and through her, develop relationships with others. Intellect. Teaming will help me to flex for the family and help her learn to lead. So by me emphasizing flexibility over control, I'm helping her to see a well-rounded leader. That doesn't mean that we exercise no control over somebody else's life, but that we flex to look at their individual situation, their individual personality, their strengths, and I'm modeling for her patience, I'm modeling wisdom, I'm modeling tenacity, all those things, because I'm not trying to control every event, and I can do that with my daughter in managing family tasks. Emotions. I could say something to her like, thank you, Hannah. Your suggestion may help us to enjoy this more. Because she's so relational, she has a lot of ideas about how to encourage somebody else. I'm more of a thinker. She's very much a deep feeler. And by me flexing away from how I would want to control the situation and listening to her, I can not only help her grow, but I can grow too in my approach to group relationships, and it's a win-win for everybody. Here's some changes that can take place. Flexing from control to use some of her good ideas will encourage her confidence and excellence now and later, strengthen her trust and communications with me, and grow us as a family too. Again, I've referenced several values there that will also be impacted. Excellence, communication, trust, all of those things can grow out of this and be changed by the specific focus on changing from control to more flexibility. A third example venue. My wife Lauren values flexibility in leading a group. I can involve Lauren in goal setting, choose venues for relationship, and evaluating parenting to lead and commit beyond my own experience. Obviously, only she can be a mom, only I can be a dad, and we can learn from each other because she has experience and passions and skills that I don't have, and vice versa. So behaviorally, working with her can help both of us to grow, but only if I flex to think beyond my individual behaviors of how I would like to do things. In intellect, teaming with her can help me flex for the family and strengthen us as co-leaders. There are many times that we must co-lead in parenting, co-lead in volunteer work, co-lead in hosting other families, being hospitable to other families in our house. And this will help me to think of what that means to be a co-leader in ways that can help me and her in the future. Emotions. I could say to her, our two heads and two hearts are always better than mine alone. That can encourage her and me and increase the likelihood of us teaming together for the future. Again, not trying to control her, but flexing to include her so it's a win-win for us individually and as a family. And here's some changes that can take place. Flexing from my control to collaborate with her good ideas will improve my commitment to family growth, not just my individuality, and continue our momentum and joy in true team purpose as a couple and a family. So you can see again that domino effect of moving away from control into more flexibility can impact many other positive values in our family. Hope that makes sense to you. Here's a couple of pages of suggested values, some that are more appropriate to families or to work teams or to social groups. But you can use these to prompt your thinking about what currently describes your group and what you'd like it to be, and make that a discussion with other members on your team. Hope it's helpful to you. Tune in next time. We'll look at an entirely different series, and I hope to see you then.
At the release date of this video, I am stationed with Research Development and Engineering Command, RDECOM, at Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. Because the majority of our personnel are in this area, I spend most of my time here. I do, however, travel to our distant units based on command priorities and budget. I place these videos on YouTube for broad visibility to Army personnel and their families, but I hope the videos will be helpful to others too. If you are assigned to RDECOM and want to request specific topics by video, training on site or by VTC, or confidential counseling on site or by secure webcam, you can contact me at jeffrey.d.dillard.mil@mail.mil.